Anyhow, the data conducted by the research institute here, as I translated the original copy, shows that it is effective against those bacteria. It's not that some of them worked and some didn't, but almost all 14 bacteria worked.
It is quite shocking that it is also effective with Candida. As you know, Candida is one of the most harmful bacteria that cause cancer and various diseases. Especially in the States, even alternative medicines are coming out to eradicate the sources of Candida. How much do you think it will help to prevent diseases if electrolyzed water can be used throughout life?
In my personal opinion, humans must have a barrier against bacteria as we live. However, there is practically no barrier now. The use of electrolyzed water can be a strong barrier between humans and significantly unfavorable environments where bacteria inhabit, though. As I mentioned previously, there are not many bacteria that survive in electrolyzed water. This report from Los Alamos also states that. The Los Alamos National Laboratory in Los Alamos, California, is a national research lab. Here, they said that they got unbelievable test results. That is because usually the types of antibiotics we use can vary depending on the types of bacteria. But this electrolyzed water is tested to treat all 14 strains, including Candida, various bacteria, and molds. This is very promising for us.
Currently, COVID-19 hasn't been settled down, and the pandemic is taking place worldwide. It is also said that there are over 180 kinds of mutated viruses. Many medical papers say that new viruses continue to appear every 2 weeks, as the rate of spread is so fast when the virus transfers from a host to another host. Diagnostic kits are being developed at the moment, but there are problems in those tested as negative becoming positive after only a few days, and symptoms occurring again after diagnosed as cured. Some say that developing diagnostic kits to test may not be the fundamental solution, and some doctors in New York even say that doctors cannot cure this disease.
Recently, a lot of people talk about COVID-19. I can't really comment on that, but not only the COVID-19 virus, but all the so-called bacteria must be isolated from human life. In that sense, we talked about self-disinfection earlier. I think that is a must now, as we are entering such an era. Humans are also an important host for viruses. I saw data stating another type of mutated virus can occur under some influence of the host. I can't say for sure, as I am not an expert in viruses, but from my tests, I can say that foot and mouth disease virus, AI virus, and other bacteria cannot not survive in electrolyzed water and are eradicated. Given that the tests conducted in Los Alamos for various types of bacteria certainly having valid results, I have no doubt that electrolyzed water can be a strong barrier for humans against risk factors if used in our lives.
The effect is too tremendous to just be called as a simple disinfectant. In my personal opinion, I think this is one of the most suppressed technologies. In other words, technologies that were not suppressed or not well known. Of course, you have a lot of theses that you've worked on, and you are the only one who conducted the most tests. I am looking at the materials, and these are amazing, especially the radical sterilization system. It is a little bit different than the disinfection method that most people think of. For example, water creates a very good condition for bacteria to grow, and it is very difficult to disinfect this water to kill bacteria. So, I understand that from many tests you have conducted to disinfect water, you found radicals the most efficient. Could you please elaborate further on this matter?
I dared to say that I invaded the realm of God. What I meant was that the water that exists in the natural world is the source of life. Without water, nothing can exist, even bacteria. However, I was able to practically destroy that water. Because I was able to create electrolyzed water by destroying the condition of the water, I considered this as completely destroying the growth environment of bacteria. Through this, I believe that we now can control bacteria that we wanted to control and treat for the longest time. The power of electrolyzed water still sometimes surprises me, as it can even treat something that I could not think of. From that point of view, radical has a chemical property rather than a type of physical property. Some parts have a bit of physical property, though, as the so-called attacking power of radicals is much stronger than anything else in the natural world. To put it in an easier way to understand, if I compare it to humans, there is not only a positive between male and female, but also a neutral. This radical is a substance that corresponds to this neutral, and it has a very strong attacking power. The most representative radical is the hydroxyl radical, and this hydroxyl exists not only in gas but also in water. We describe it as HO radical when it exists in gas, OH radical in water, and their oxidation transitions are different. When in gas, it is usually about 2.84 eV, and when in water, it is about 2.81 eV. So when looking at the oxidation transition, the oxidizing power is much stronger in the gaseous state than in water. Hence, it is a bit problematic to say that these sterilize bacteria and treat viruses, because the radical itself does not have a long lifetime. On the other hand, radicals form NaOH by being combined with Na from salt or contribute to form other various radicals. Hence, in that sense, they do act as a substance that sterilizes bacteria. I watched one YouTube broadcast which talked about such substances being created in the water, but without enough knowledge on it. The fact is that although radicals are very active in the water with a short lifetime, they play the role of having a special power by being combined with other substances. This is the same for viruses, as the virus itself cannot play a role of anything alone, but through a host it can reveal itself and play its given role. Also, the oxidizing power of radicals cause problems in human bodies, such as attacking cells. That is why they say that so-called active oxygen should be removed. This material I have here is on various actions of the radicals generated during electrolysis.
The test results say that it is harmless concerning oral toxicity.
Through many tests I have conducted, I know that it is harmless to human bodies, but I needed to prove it objectively. So I requested an accredited testing organization to acknowledge its effect as per the guidelines of the FDA. Good results were obtained without any problems in the oral toxicity test.
Then can we understand this being acknowledged as harmless means that we can safely consume it?
I don't think that being acknowledged for the oral toxicity test means that it can be safely consumed. I believe it means that if we consume it, no damage would lead to death. If this is approved as a food additive, we can interpret this as a small amount or a little more will not cause a problem when entered in the human body.
Although this is not a quasi-drug, electrolyzed water is used as a vaginal cleanser in the States. Bacteria such as Candida are reproduced mostly on the skin or mucous membranes. Being able to eradicate them can also mean that it can be applied to the skin. Although it cannot be sold as a pharmaceutical product under Korean law, but in theory, maybe it's not that impossible, looking at the cases of other developed countries.
I think that electrolyzed water should be legalized by the governmental organization to provide benefits to many people. Legalizing such is handled by those who govern the country, but sometimes it is rejected. Looking at the results I have studied and reviewed, though, I believe it can be used safely and be very useful.